and we check the iPads. There should be an iPad out in the food prep room when you come here. If you need the code for the iPad is listed here, and the login for PetTech Pro is listed here. So what we do is just use it like any iPad. If you need to enter the code in, it's listed here at 0411. And PetTech Pro is just here. So when you open this, if it's not already logged in, that's the PetTech Pro, which is the software we use for out here. The username and password are listed here. You will have your own username and password that you can enter in here. Okay, and then this is PetTech Pro. In another video, we will go through how to use the software. So right now we're going to skip through stuff and assume that we've been through that video already. But the most important thing to check on here, and you can use it just like a regular iPad, is to click on the daily checks. The next important thing that we do is start doing the special diets and the medications, which all will be listed here. So we're going to select all activities for today's date and hit go. You can know which ones are done and which ones are ticked off because they'll be done and have the person. Please note that they do not go off the system once they are completed. It's just marked that it is done so that they stay on there, so that if anyone checks later on that those things are still there. You're going to go through here, you're going to check for any special diets, and then you're going to find those special diets. Special diets tend to live in this area here, so they'll either be labeled here or they'll be on top of the freezer. Obviously, all that's listed in here is which dogs are to get it. The instructions will be on there, and the instructions will be on the bag. Follows those instructions as per what the owners request for them to feed. Medications all live. There's 2 checks for the medications. The medications are listed in PetTech Pro. They're all kept here, and they all have to be labeled with the animal's details and instructions. There's also, because medications are so important, is a secondary check, and each animal when they come in has a certain medication schedule where everything will be outlined on here. We will have another video with medications and how to read that and stuff. So right now we're just demonstrating that you go through, you check the medications, and at this stage administer any special diets and medications. Last step of the morning routine is, once we finish special diets and medications, is to do the feeding of the rest of the animals. So there will be feed made up, and there is a recipe and a video later on that demonstrates to you how to make up the food. Obviously Maddie's already fed for today, so there's no food made up for the next day. The food keeps in the fridge for 3 days. We do a mixture of feeding of dry food and fresh mints as well too. So that's why we don't make up it too far in advance. So, but for this video, we're just going to demonstrate. We're going to take the amount of food out, and there is guidelines about how much food to feed. It's going to go in our feed trolley. We're going to take our feed trolley. So again, we start on A side, we work all the way down A side, and then we come back up B side. Obviously the first 5 kennels are the doggy daycare kennels, so we're going to start at A6. Now, when you're feeding, you're going to look at their kennel cards that they have here. There will be a video on explaining how to read these kennel cards as well too. Things that you need to know is the dog's name, and if there is what their breed is as well too. So there's Rosie here, she's a poodle. So with that, we're then going to go to our feeding guide. A poodle is obviously less than 10 kilograms, so it's considered a small breed dog, and the general guideline is 1 cup of food. Obviously, there's a big difference between a 4-kilogram poodle and a 10-kilogram poodle, that if you've got a very small, less than 5-kilogram dog, you might only feed that half a cup of food, because one of the biggest complaints that owners have is not only if their animals lose weight while they're staying here, but if they gain weight. So use your discretion on how much that is, and take note of the animals that you're feeding. They're generally here for several days, so you will know if that animal's here for the first day. If it only eats half of its food, you're going to remember that the next day to only offer it that amount of food. You're going to find the appropriate size bowl. She's a poodle, so I'm going to select a small bowl. I'm going to then give it, looking at her weight, she's only 6 kilograms. So this is a cup of food. So I'm not going to give her quite 1 cup of food. That's about 2/3 of a cup of food. I'm going to put it in the bowl. I'm going to place it in her kennel. And this is for demonstration. Normally the dogs would be outside, but this is what you do with the food, is you just put it nice and in front here so that it's quite easy to collect the bowls once they're finished. If you have 2 dogs, it's important that you're going to put both of the food bowls at the front. So we would put one over to this side and the other one over to this side. Once you've fed, you're going to lock the door and ensure that it's closed. You'll then call the dog inside. If it's 1 dog, you're fine. You can just leave that kennel immediately. If there's 2 dogs from the same family, it is important just to have a look, watch those dogs, and make sure they go to their food bowls. If they don't go to their food bowls, you're just going to gently and carefully and safely make sure that you encourage them to go to their individual food bowls. Do not ever try to stick your hands in a food bowl. That's a good way to get bitten. But if they're both going to this one food bowl, what you're going to do if it's 2 big staffies is you're just going to kind of bang the other bowl so the other one goes to the other food bowl, wave it in front of their face, gently encourage them over to the other bowl so that both of those dogs get a feed and one dog's not eating all the other dog's food. If you have shared boarding will be highlighted on here, that there are 2 dogs that are sharing the same kennel that are of different families that we do during the busy seasons. It will be noted on their kennel card. Even more importantly, it's with dogs from the same family, we just watch them for a minute or 2. But those dogs, you're going to just take an extra minute or 2 just to watch them to make sure that there's no fighting over that food. If you have any concerns that there may be, the best way to do it, especially moving forward, is highlighting on their kennel to feed them separately. You're welcome to bring them to a kennel that's empty next door and let it eat in there separately. Or if it's during Christmas and we're really full, you're welcome to bring one dog out and let it eat outside of the kennel. Or even better is to take note of that, let one dog be inside, one dog be outside, and put the food in the outside run so they really can truly eat separately. That's a rare occasion that you need to do that. 99% of the time the dogs, even in shared boarding, are fine, but those are what to do in the situation that they're not. So, okay, so after what we've done and we've gone through, we've fed all of A side, we've moved over to B side, and we've fed all of B side. The demonstration on how to collect the food bowls. So once they've all been fed, obviously Rosie's finished all of her dinner, Lucky Girl got 2 breakfasts, is you're just going to punch down, you're going to collect both of those food bowls. Please note that the safest way to do it is either to block the kennel if it's a small breed dog, or if you've got 2 big boisterous dogs, you can lift that gate up all the way to the side and just collect those food bowls from here, so it's less of an opening for them to get through. Or you can just keep your body in here and gently, again, watching your back on the latches, bend down and collect those food bowls. If the animals push through and get out, that sometimes happens. You just obviously grab your lead and collect them and put them back in. If it's a really silly dog, you can just leave those food bowls, wait for them to be outside, and sneakily get it when you're not looking down. Obviously, if there's any leftover food in the bucket, it's going to be fed the next day. So I'm just going to take that food. You'll note that it's dated for today, so we'll use that one up first the next day and pop it back in the fridge. And then obviously is when we take the trolley when the food's put back to go and collect the food bowls. Now we're going to demonstrate that once we have collected all the food bowls, we're going to bring them to be washed. So we are using raw mints, so it is important to use nice, warm, soapy water. Your personal choice of whether you'd just like to use your bare hands, or there is gloves available if you prefer to wear gloves while you're washing the dishes. What we normally do is stack all the bowls up here, and generally there's quite a few. I then fill up the big sink with nice warm water and lots of soap. Fill up that one with nice warm water, put the bowls in, and then fill up this one with nice warm water for a rinsing one as well too. Obviously washing dishes, you should all know how to wash dishes, but you're going to make sure to get in those corners and make sure that you're doing a full wash of all sides of those bowls. And it doesn't take long, but make sure you give it a good clean. And then into the next section, once that's full, obviously you can just dump that in and rinse it. And then they get placed here and stacked one on top of each other, standing up in order to let them dry. Obviously, once you're done with all the dishes, the next thing you're going to do is you're just going to give the sinks a bit of a wipe out and make sure that we keep this area nice and tidy. We don't need to leave that watering throughout the day, otherwise it just gets yucky. And just obviously give the tap and everything a nice quick is a good opportunity to just give this a bit of a wipe down.